Hi. What?
Hello and welcome back to the Leaders Lounge. Listen, your girl, Dr. Wendy Talley, is back for another juicy episode. Listen, I've been watching y'all watch that YouTube video with Dr. Tajiri the last time, and y'all been blowing that up and sharing it. I told you she was going to give you some gems, and she did. So I'm glad y'all are watching it and y'all taking copious notes. But listen, this next topic that's here, you're just going to just blow your mind on this one, okay? Because like I said, the Leaders Lounge is all about making sure we have some real raw conversations, no filter. But again, we're not going to name any names. We're not going to bash anybody, but trust and believe we're going to talk about the stuff that we cannot talk about in front of the coffee room, the employee lounge, and even that nosy ass co-worker that's always telling everybody business because she or he cannot keep anything to themselves, right? But we're going to talk about it today, raw and uncut. So my name again is Dr. Wendy Talley, and we're going to talk about a topic today that I was having a conversation with a really good friend of mine. She is actually my sorority sister. Shout out to Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. And we was just having some love conversations just about love, life, everything, family, our kids that are in college, and even work. And so we just got to vibing back and forth about just being a leader in this space, but also being normal and going through stuff with our families, our kids, the whole bit. And we realized that sometimes this thing can be impactful. So today, I'm here to bring you an amazing topic. I got to read this because this is just going to be juicy, y'all. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? So listen. So today's topic is about life's too busy to taste my own food. Yes, 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 right? Sometimes we get into a space where we are just grinding, 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 and we just cannot just stop and just smell the flowers. Sometimes we're moving so quickly, we're up all night, we're up in the daytime, we got no sleep. Sometimes we can't even connect. We're just existing. We're not thriving and we're not living. So today's topic is going to be pretty heavy. So this is what I want you to do. Follow instructions, okay? Because we're leaders, right? So this is what I want you to do. I want you to go in the kitchen right now before we even get started. I want to put us on pause if you need to, because this is on the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, okay? You're going to go in the kitchen. You're going to get you a nice, cute glass, okay? You're going to pour your favorite beverage, okay? That beverage can be strong 14%, maybe 21%, 81%, whatever it is that you feel that you need to do because it is going to hit right here in the jugular, okay? So make sure you get that ready and make sure you have a pen and your journal to write all these gems down because our guest today is going to give it to you. So, like with anybody that I have, I want to make sure that I introduce them with the utmost respect, right? So I love people bios. Okay. So you get to see her picture because she's all that in a bag of cheese dips. Okay. So her name is Confidence Johnson. Just check out the first name. Confidence, right? Just confidence, right? Just hit your dip, hit you in the shoulder blade. Okay. So Confidence Johnson is an accomplished glory, right? Accomplished educator with over 10 years of experience as an elementary school principal. Okay. Principal with a high P. All right. And 26 years in education. So listen, she didn't taught your kids. She didn't sent them off to college. She didn't got them together. And she's probably got some parents together too. Because sometimes us parents, we hard-headed as well. She has made history as the first, come on, history makers, the first African American principal at 3 of the 5 schools she has led and currently serve as the only African American principal in the Alvord, right? Alvord Unified School District in Riverside, California. Cali in the building, right? So listen, we got a history maker here. She's a graduate of Xavier University, HBCU in the building, right? Xavier University of Louisiana with a bachelor's in Spanish and a master's in cross-cultural education from National University. Come on, Yes, you better say it. Muchas gracias. Okay. And so she's a proud member, as we all are, a proud member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated since 2008. Yes. She is also a mother to a son attending Syracuse, honey, University, Whitman School of Business. Get your business life together. Okay. So he's going to be putting his business stuff together. Y'all gonna need him, all right? And he is in the honors program, all right? So I want you all to welcome my amazing guest, my sorority sister, my friend, Confidence Johnson. Yay! Yes, we got claps, y'all. I didn't press the button, but he clapped for me. Thank you, Solomon. So listen, Confidence, you and I have had many conversations, about just love, life, relationships, and things of that nature. And when we were talking, what was it, about a week or so ago?
Yeah, about a week ago.
Okay. And when you were just talking, you were flowing, you were in the spirit, and you said this title, and it just hit me. Now, this is something I have never had on, I was putting in my stuff together, but you put that together, and I was like, we got to do something with this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as an educator, as a leader for not only little people, but you are also a leader of adults who are giving back. You are a leader in the community. You are a leader in every area of your life. But you talk to me about just sometimes, you know, we just get so caught up in our life, we just can't even move forward. So I am glad that you're here. So the first segment we're going to talk about, which is so important, is called The Hustle That Hides the Hurt, right?
Okay.
So we're going to hustle today. So the first question I wanted to talk about so our listeners can get, their notes from you all. So I hope you guys are taking copious notes. When did you realize you were moving so fast that you weren't feeling anything anymore?
Well, when we were talking, I was like, I had come home and it was early,
Mhm.
which is highly unusual.
Mhm.
And I was like, let me sit down. Let me make myself some food.
Mhm.
Let me put the ingredients in it. Let me taste it along the way and let me eat it.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to put it up in a container for the next day, put my dishes away and so forth. And then I was like, this is really weird. I actually tasted my own food. And when I'm working and so forth as a leader, it is so difficult. We eat. We may think we're tasting our own food, but we're really not tasting our own food. We're eating just to satisfy that craving and that urge within our stomach.
Right.
But we're really not tasting our own food, tasting life.
I love that because we're not taking the time out to really just say, I'm present right now in the moment. I've shut off the before
Mm-hmm.
and I'm here and I'm tasting my own food. I can taste the herbs. I can taste myself in a sense of I'm finally here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And talk to me about how did you arrive to that space where you realized you wasn't? How did you know that you got there?
I feel like sometimes I'm just robotic. Like I'm going through the motions. And then sometimes I'll look up and I'm like, oh my goodness, I haven't eaten.
Right.
Sometimes you haven't even used the restroom.
That is
And
true.
that's some real talk.
Yes. But some of us are in the age bracket of Larry seasoning that we might need to wear it depends. Okay. But what brings that back to me where I found myself sometimes coming home from work. I don't even know how I got home.
Mm-hmm.
I remember leaving the office. I picked up my bags. I got into the car. Then there's this moment of blackness. I don't even remember being on the freeway.
Because your mind doesn't shut off. Even though you leave that workplace, your mind is still going. And so you're navigating through traffic safely. But then you get home and guess what? It's still going. It's still going. It's still going. And
Yeah.
it's really, really hard to just turn that off.
Exactly.
And so that's why I said to you,
Mhm.
Wendy, it was really weird.
Yeah.
I tasted my own food and it was
Mhm.
spaghetti. I was like, okay.
How you make your spaghetti really quick, just for the
Well,
people that don't know how to cook? How you make your
you have to
spaghetti?
put the onions and the bell peppers and then
Yes.
the garlic and so forth. And then
Yes.
you could choose ground beef or ground turkey, or if you
Yes.
just don't want any sauce, any meat whatsoever.
Absolutely.
You can do the marinara sauce, you can make your own. But it was so refreshing to actually just take the time to do that.
Mhm.
And it wasn't dark. I didn't have to just quickly eat, go take a shower, and guess what? Rinse and repeat it the same, the very next day.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I took that time and I was just like, when I was speaking with you,
Mhm.
and it was just like, oh my goodness. It
Mhm.
was like an epiphany
Yeah.
in a sense. It was an epiphany.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, I have to stop.
Mhm.
I have to stop.
Mhm.
Yes, we have to work. We have to take care of ourselves. But we have to take that moment to
Yeah.
just stop. You have to take that moment just to love on yourself. Because guess what? If you're not valuable to yourself, you're not going to be valuable to anybody else.
Absolutely. And we tend to forget that because we think as leaders, we got to be there for everybody. We got to do everything.
Yes.
We got to hold everything in. Just coming in just to meet you today and have this amazing conversation. I was talking to the woman that does my pedicures. Now, she's a leader in her own right of the craft that she does. But she was telling me about the stress that she was having.
Mm.
And how her personal life has just really, impacted her, and the doctor was like, this was stress induced. And I'm like, wait, what? And that's really scary. And it hit home for me
Mhm.
because I even remember, you know, when my son was 2 years old, I was going through a divorce. I was in a domestic violent relationship. I had just started a brand new job living on my own. I had bought my first condo, my first piece of property, and my stinky pot. I was getting him ready for school, and everything went black, and I ended up having not only a stroke, but I had a heart attack because of stress induced stuff.
Yes.
And I was in a leader's position. I got a brand new job, and it was just a lot when you're just going, going, going. So sometimes we just don't stop enough and realize that we need to just take in and take ourselves in and be more mindful.
It is.
Yeah.
It's so necessary. I mean, just like you were just speaking, in 2019, I had 3 mini strokes at the age of 46. I'm like, what is going on? I
A
cannot
stroke.
believe that. The first one was, oh, okay. The second one, and then that third one was like, wake up call. Because just because you may look young on the outside and you look all jovial does not mean what is being affected on the inside of us. And
Absolutely.
that's why I was like, I have to stop and taste my own food. We need that nourishment. You need that physical nourishment. You need that mental nourishment
Right.
because
Right.
we have to do that. We have
Right.
to. It's like non-negotiable.
I'm glad you said it because the next question I want to ask you is so important. Is that do you think that leaders use busyness as a badge of honor or a form of avoidance?
I think leaders can use both.
Yeah.
I think it's like we are trying to impress who's above us, um, who our staff may be.
Mm-hmm.
It could be for me, it could be maybe my staff, it could be my
Mm-hmm.
parents, my kids.
Mm-hmm.
But it can also be I'm avoiding something at home. For some people that are maybe going through a divorce
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want to go home and be alone, or they're going home to a place that doesn't give them joy either. And so I think it could be a little bit of both,
Mm-hmm.
because we're afraid. We're
Mm-hmm.
afraid we're going to disappoint someone at
Mm-hmm.
home. We're afraid we're going to disappoint someone at your workplace. So I think it could be a combination of both.
Mm-hmm.
But that's when we do have to actually reflect and say, you know what, is this valuable? Because going back to the sickness, our bodies know us better than
Absolutely.
anything. Our
Yeah.
bodies know us.
Yeah. Stay right there for me because, I think about breaking this down, when it comes to avoiding. Yes, you're right. We don't want to deal with stuff that goes on at home.
Mhm.
We don't want to deal with stuff that may be going on in the community. We're avoiding having to deal with stuff that's constantly on the news. So we will just dive ourselves into our profession.
Mhm.
We'll
Mhm.
dive ourselves into our title.
Mhm.
We will shut off the world. So I love when I meet people. I never say, hi, my name is Dr. Wendy Talley. Depending on the situation, I
Right.
might.
Mhm.
But a lot of times I just say, hey, hi, my name is Wendy. I want to see what you're going to do with that. But a lot of times I would say a person will come back to me and give me not only their name, they'll give me all their credentials, they'll give me what exactly they do, where they're living. And I'm like, I just said hello. Like, where did all
Right.
that come from? And to me, that's a sign of I want you to see what I want you to see, not what's really going on.
Right.
Don't look past anything than what I'm giving you. And granted, we want to have some discretion. We want to have some privacy because you just don't know people.
Right.
But sometimes people do that. So they're hiding whatever it is that could be going on. It could be depression. It
Yes.
could be anxiety. It could be imposter syndrome. It could be a child that's going through some sort of sickness. They're a caregiver. They needed to avoid what's really going on in life. When we think about the badge of honor, a lot of times I talk with clients, and you may even get this possibly even when you talk to parents. They use that profession, they use that title,
Mhm.
and they take it wherever they go, right?
Right.
Because they have no other identity and they have no other purpose. So it gives them that. What do you say to that?
I think that's definitely present
Mhm.
in a lot of professions, especially in education,
Mhm.
because we hold on to that
Mhm.
and we become experts at that. We become experts at what we matriculated through.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
But then it's like, okay, our normal self.
Mhm.
That's like some people know me as Connie.
Oh, I didn't
Okay,
even know that.
so they know me as Connie,
Okay.
and then it's like my professional life. It's like confidence. But then friends that I've had in the past, it's like
Right.
Connie. And
Okay.
so even now, people are like, "Do you want me to call you Connie or Confidence?" And I tell people whatever one feels comfortable to you, because I had to start feel comfortable in both names.
Yeah. Okay. That's some juicy stuff because now we're living in two worlds.
Yes.
I hope y'all caught that. Because even for me, it's like either Wendy or Dr. Tally
Mm.
or momminess.
Mm-hmm.
Because, for mommy stink baby. Okay. My husband calls me beautiful. My girlfriends call me Wendy. Some of my friends that knew me from like elementary school
Right.
call me Win Win, or whatever. I got a name that's in the family. So we come up with these
Yeah.
names.
Right.
Okay. So we have these names in these different spaces in our life.
But it creates almost like like multiple identities. So,
Yes.
like you were stating before, then who are you really?
Yes.
And so I had to be able to be comfortable in both names. And then when I was younger, confidence is like, oh my goodness, I couldn't have a bad day or anything like that. So when I was in high school, I would say, my name is Connie, because that was stress.
Mm.
But then it was like, as I was able to be okay through my faith and saying,
Mhm.
you know what, it's okay to be Connie and to be confidence.
So do you still associate Connie with stress?
Nope.
Come on, grow
Nope.
this.
That's
Let's do it.
no. Mm-mm.
I love my
No.
button. I got my button now. So, but you know what? I'm glad you say that because, for those of us that are listening, we really need to understand our purpose, but also understand who are you really? So a lot of times when I work with my clients, I talk to them about identity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I tell them, I said, what I want you to do is if you take away your name,
Mm-hmm.
if you take away your degrees, if you have any, your trades,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that may be, if you take away all the things that's been labeled on you and you just stand there flat footed, bare,
Mm-hmm.
who are you? Describe you. And a lot of times, nobody could do it. Are you?
It's difficult.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really difficult.
Well, let me ask you the same question. If you could take away all of that, how would you describe yourself? Who are you?
I would say fun loving. I love being around people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel as if I thrive in isolation.
Mm.
So I love people. I love, the smiles that are on the kids' faces. That is at work, but I
Yeah.
still take that nugget with me
Mm.
because I can be in a grocery store
Mhm.
and a kid can, achieve something.
Mhm.
And it's something about that adolescent in it, that
Mhm.
innocence about
Mhm.
them.
Mhm.
But I'm a caregiver. I want to help all the time. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't matter
Mhm.
to me. Like I
Mhm.
just can't sit still
Mhm.
because I feel like we can't work in isolation.
Mhm.
So it's okay for
Mhm.
me to be that way,
Mhm.
for me to be authentic, authentically who I am,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know, and my fun, I can be silly. I love being silly.
Yes.
I love being silly. I'm the person that I don't necessarily need somebody to start dancing. I'm a dance on my own. And if someone wants to come and join in with me, great.
Mhm.
There's just so much that I'm okay now with who I am
Mhm.
and what I'm able to do
Mhm.
because it's not about me getting attention. I feel this is me feeling comfortable about me.
Yes.
And it takes a long time for people to feel that way,
Yes.
but we have to. We
Absolutely.
owe it to ourselves.
Yes, you do. Yes, we do. Yes, you do. Absolutely. Which brings me to the next important question that really kind of talks about this hustle hurt situation
Mhm.
that we go through is what do you believe most high level professionals, and
Mhm.
and this is the audience that we're speaking to. We're talking about our C-suite leaders. We're
Yeah.
talking about our execs. We're talking about the people that are maybe in the government, and those particular high level people that really provide impact. What do you believe these high level professionals are actually running from? From your experience, from what you've heard in your circles, what do you think they're really running from?
I think they're running from possibly fear of not getting the approval that they want
Absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
we don't want to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're running to the next thing. We're running to the next, I don't know, workshop. We're running to the next degree, certification. And so we're running from I'm afraid to that I'm not going to be approved. I'm afraid that I'm not going to get promoted. I'm
Mm-hmm.
afraid that this is going to reflect on my evaluation that I didn't do something right.
Exactly.
And then we'll perseverate on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes as leaders we could be running from that. We're
Mm-hmm.
s- it's fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's an
Mm-hmm.
inherent fear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And going back to we really need to go back, like you said, taste your own food.
Yeah.
What is that food? What is that food for you?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so being able to not do it in a rude
Mm-hmm.
manner,
Mm-hmm.
but being able to say, ask those clarifying questions and
Right.
being able to not operate in any leadership role in fear.
I'm glad you said that. That's a very important point because people don't really understand what being in real leadership means.
No.
Everybody want to be a boss babe, a boss bitch, somebody wants to be a hustler, the high profile everybody want to do everybody want to get into those positions,
Mhm.
but they really don't know exactly what that means. And then when they do get there, they're grabbing their pearls.
Mhm.
They're feeling appalled that you would even ask them to, oh, I don't know, actually work and be one. Like you
Right.
thought you were just going to sit here and do nothing and look cute and just get on Instagram. No, there's real work here. There's real responsibility. I remember, running from when I got into this leadership position, you pretty much talked about me, was that I was running from being a failure.
Mm.
And that was the biggest fear of my life when I first got my big position when I started working for the government. And I was still young. I was even though I was an adult, I was in my early 30s. I was a baby in this thing called profession.
Mhm.
And I still needed coaching, training. I still need to be raised. I need my mama and my daddy in the professional life, not my biological mom and dad. But I needed a big sister, big mentor type of person in my life. And I didn't have that. And so I was running from the space of, I don't want to fail. I don't
Mhm.
want to let people down. And I kept making mistakes because I was leading in fear.
Yeah. And it's a lot to carry on your shoulders. I mean, I can just recall when someone had urged me to become an assistant principal and I was like, "Oh my God, are you serious? Me?" And then you're like, "Wait a minute. I don't know if I could do that." And that there goes that fear.
Yeah.
And so then you carry that on
Mm-hmm.
and then you get into these positions and maybe
Mm-hmm.
other positions, but
Mm-hmm.
guess what? Way back 10
Mm-hmm.
years ago, 15 years ago,
Right.
you still had that fear of,
Right.
of failure.
Yes.
And so you're just like, okay, can I do this? Can I
Right.
do this? How
Right.
am I going to do this?
Right.
And that's what we're just like this, this train trying to
Mm-hmm.
go forward, forward,
Mm-hmm.
forward.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes we become that ladder. We keep trying to climb up the rings of the ladder.
Right.
And guess what? You never get to the top because you're not stopping to actually just, reflect on it.
Right.
Because each step, it makes us grow as individuals.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we don't want to fear, that
Mm-hmm.
leadership.
Right.
So you got to take care of you.
Right. I'm glad you said take care of you because in my head, what's ringing in my head right now is not only are we running in the professional life, but we could be running from what's going on in our personal life.
Yes.
The embarrassment of a divorce.
Yes.
Okay. Because a lot of times leaders in those big high power positions, especially if you're walking in your brand all the time, they see themselves with this as a married person.
Yes.
God forbid you have a public divorce,
Yes.
or a child may go off and do something different that's not part of the tradition of the family, or different sexual orientation,
Hmm.
or the child gets sick, the wife or the husband is cheating, right? We see these leaders in these positions that may have a camera on them, and they need to hold up a certain image. So what they're doing is they're running from the personal life so no one can see and expose
Mhm.
what actually is going on at home. And I'm just going to take it down to the whole bottom of the whole thing, and I'm just going to go right into your kitchen. Actually, I'm going to go into your bathroom. That sometimes we can have sexual problems.
Mm.
Okay. And we don't want nobody to know that we got issues. My husband or my wife is not satisfied and they're going off on doing other things. So sometimes we have health issues, we have sexual issues, we
Mhm.
have family issues. We have these issues personally that
Mhm.
we're running from, or that we've been diagnosed with something. We've been diagnosed with cancer. We've been diagnosed
And
with,
then we become that diagnosis. You become that diagnosis.
and there we have it.
And there, and I can recall when I'm too a divorcee,
Hmm.
and I was in my first year as a principal, and it was tough. I had to basically get to work. Thank goodness I had a bathroom in my office,
Hmm.
because I had to get to work, and I'm crying my eyes out because I didn't
Yeah.
know what was going on in my life.
Yeah.
But I had to be present as that principal
Yeah.
at that school,
Yeah.
predominantly white.
Yeah.
Nothing against it, but I had to be present. I had to be that leader.
Right.
And thank goodness I got there an hour and a half
Right.
early
Right. Right.
to be able to take my makeup bag
Right.
and be able to be okay
Right.
and put on that. Unfortunately, that makeup had to mask all of that pain.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, what are we trying to avoid? We don't want to avoid, we're trying to avoid being judged.
Exactly.
We're trying to avoid being human
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
that was serious hurt. We all go through there's ebbs and flows of
Mm-hmm.
life.
Right.
And so, why, as leaders, do we have to not feel that authentic feeling that
Mm-hmm.
we have in that moment
Mm-hmm.
because you're trying to push it down?
Right.
It's like that that little jack o' lantern thing that the kids have.
Yeah.
You're trying to
And it
push it,
puts a
and
thing
then you're
down.
gonna try to push it down, and it's gonna just plop out.
Yeah.
And so,
Exactly.
if we are present and looking at the different things that we can do along the way,
Mm-hmm.
then hopefully we can avoid all of the other pains that come with it.
Right. What's so interesting in that is that you touched on I was part of an anthology book called Triumph in the Trenches. We have it here.
Mhm.
And it was 22 authors, and we talked about navigating for mostly through Black professionals
Mhm.
in the workplace. But this book can be for anybody, just talking about how do we deal with all of the issues personally and professionally in the workplace. And we talked about how we dealt with things when we were first becoming leaders in the workplace, when we
Mhm.
first got our real big adult
Job.
job, right? It wasn't McDonald's, right? But it was that big job with that degree. How do you even navigate those spaces? How do you even grow? And in this book, we talked about so many different avenues. And when you talk about how you were like, hey, I'm the only African American woman in here. So now I have one mask, but I'm also too, I'm going through some personal things and I don't want nobody to know about it. So I got to put on my eyelashes. I got to put on my makeup. I got to put
Mhm.
my hair on or braid it in or whatever we need to do. And I have to make sure everybody knows that I'm okay.
Mhm.
But internally, I'm breaking. And
And,
that's
and
hard.
then you can't wait to get in the car,
Right.
cry your eyes out,
Yeah.
and then even you might even take the scenic route
Yeah.
because you know what, you want to arrive at home in that same mask.
Yes.
When you have kids, you're like, okay, you don't want your kid to know mommy is hurting,
Right.
mommy is feeling something,
Right.
and so then guess what? It becomes this cyclical pattern of let me hide,
Mm-hmm.
let me hide, let me hide, and
Mm-hmm.
then guess what? It starts eating us up,
Mm-hmm.
eating us up
Mm-hmm.
on the inside.
Right.
But I can just remember going through that, and it was just, you know what? I had to take a pause and
Mm-hmm.
say, you know what? Let me, I have a poster
Mm-hmm.
at school, and it says, you have faces for feelings,
Mm-hmm.
and identify that face. If we're
Yes.
asking kids to do it, to put a name to it, why can't we do it as adults?
Absolutely.
So if I'm
Absolutely.
feeling happy, I'm feeling happy. If I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling sad.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm feeling mad, I'm feeling mad.
Right.
Because
Right.
God gave us faces for feelings, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that because I tell my son all the time, whatever it is that you're feeling, feel it.
Yes.
Because like my son, he's just like his mother. I'm a Gemini, he's a Cancer. So we're both born in June. You can imagine that household
And
was
I'm a June
rough.
baby too.
And you a June baby. All these June babies, Jesus. No wonder we feeling everything, right? But the one thing I have to say is that I was never told to hide my face. I was never
Mm,
told to hide my feelings.
mm,
But my mother did say, make sure you feel what you feel, but don't get on my nerve.
mm.
As long as I didn't get on mama's nerve, she was fine. But that's what I tell my son all the time. Feel what you're going to feel. Feel it for that moment.
Mhm.
Recognize and reflect and move on. But see, a lot of times in adults, we don't do that. So that brings us to segment number 2, where we talk about, and it's just so right on time. No time to breathe, no
Mm,
space to feel, right? If you're watching this right now, just breathe, right? And
mhm.
feel in the moment. So let's talk about this by asking this first question is, what's one small joy? Okay. And those of you, your joy could be in your glass. Okay. What's one small joy you realized you were missing because you were too busy leading, not tasting your food?
I think spending time with my son. I would say spending because majority of my career,
Mm-hmm.
I would say it was like he was 7 years old. And those moments of the games
Yeah.
and the projects and
Yeah.
things of that nature, because I think I was so busy trying to make sure I was that good leader, and so
Mm-hmm.
that joy I missed
Yeah.
big time, because those are times you can't bring them back.
No,
You can't bring them back.
you cannot. You cannot. And I think about that too, because there were times where I missed those moments with my son. And it's hurtful
Hmm.
because not only do you feel it, but they also feel it too.
They do. I mean, we carried them, so they feel pretty much just about every emotion we feel,
Yeah.
and they don't know it. They
Mm-hmm.
don't have the words for it.
Yeah.
But I can remember like the silliness that I would have with him, and
Mm-hmm.
us being in a car, and so those days
Right.
that I'm at work late and I'm having to attend a board meeting,
Right.
and then it was like, okay, then I'm trying to rush home to make 3 meals on Sunday
Mm-hmm.
just so that food would be for the rest of the week.
Mm-hmm.
But those little moments that you just can't get back,
Right.
those are things that, so then now, I'm more purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to go watch a movie, let's go watch a movie. If we
Mm-hmm.
even if it's at home, watching
Right.
Netflix or whatever the case may be,
Right.
let's go get something to eat. Or what's your favorite food that you want me to cook?
Right. Right.
So those are those times because I want to, savor those memories.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I come from a big family, so I'm the baby of 12, right? And my mom and dad had 12 kids. He loved her a lot. Okay, the Mississippi woman, the Mississippi hips got his attention quite often. All right. And so, I'm the baby, and anyone who meets me knows they can see I'm a daddy's girl. It is what it is. I'm spoiled. But one of the things, I had my father with me all the time. He was already retired. By the
Mm,
time I was born in the 70s. So by the time I was born, he was already retired.
mm.
My father was born in 1924.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
1924. And my mother was born in 1939.
Mm,
And so I'm that baby of this whole generation.
wow.
They have no idea what to do with this person. And my father was retired, and I spent a lot of my time with my father. A lot of time.
Mm,
I slept with him. He would put me right on his chest,
mm.
and with his snoring would put me to sleep in his warm body because that baby need to stop screaming. And so I sat with him all the time. But guess what? Who I didn't sit with all the time? My mom,
Wow. Okay.
the woman that's supposed to teach me how to be a woman, how to be a girl.
Mhm,
She was there at those pivotal moments.
mhm,
Don't get me wrong, but she worked a lot. You
mm,
know, these were people that grew up on farms. That they had the American dream of owning their own
mhm,
home,
mhm,
right? And that they had their business,
mm,
right? That's was very uncommon for a Black person to really have a business, right? So my mother had a taco stand, and I loved it. It was great. I even got to work there. I started I still keep it on my resume, House of Dimes at age 5. And yes, I was taking orders, right? And so, but there was those moments where she missed because of work. She missed graduations.
mm,
She missed ballet recitals and events.
mm,
She missed a lot, not even to the point of enrolling me into school
mm,
because my brothers and sisters were so much older than me. They could actually be my parents. And they were
Mm.
doing these things with me. It was to the point I didn't know my mother was my mother until I got to high school at 14. I thought she was my grandmother.
Wow.
So I say that to say is that sometimes we're doing our best and we're working so hard for our kids
Mhm.
that we forget to realize they just want us there.
That's true. I mean, my mom was a single mother of 3 girls.
Mhm.
Like you stated, your mom worked a lot. My mom worked 6 days a week. Sometimes on a Sunday, we would go to church and then we would drop mom off at work. And so sometimes we will that generational what we were brought up with,
Mhm.
that's what I knew. My
Mhm.
mom worked, she worked hard. I work hard. That's what you do.
Exactly.
And so she had to do what she had to do. We didn't grow up with our father.
Mhm.
And so my mom was that mom and dad.
Mhm.
And so with 3 girls, we were in a female dominated household.
Oh, the
so
estrogen.
so we took out the trash. We did those, different things like that.
Mhm.
But I would say that probably molded me into, I that's all I knew. My mom worked at her job for 51 years.
Wow.
51 years.
That's unheard of these years.
Exactly. So
Wow.
to be able to understand that balance,
Mhm.
I would say my sisters and I got the best of that strong
Mhm.
woman, black
Mhm.
woman,
Mhm. Mhm.
leadership. Maybe
Mhm.
it wasn't the best thing when it came to dating or things
Mhm.
like that. but but I would honestly say that that's what we knew. That's what
Mhm.
I grew up with. So to have been I've been in education 26 years.
Right.
26 years.
Right.
My siblings they've also been in their fields for many, many, many years.
Mm.
And so it was our grandfather that would pick us up from school,
Okay.
would take us to get something to eat. I remember hamburgers, and I thought I thought
Yes.
anything that was in a can was a soda. But it was like Country Time lemonade and then Hawaiian
Yes.
punch and so forth. And so we had my grandfather, we had my great uncle and my aunt that
Mhm.
were that was helping my mom
Mhm.
raise us.
Mm.
And so those are our patriarchs and matriarchs of our
Yes.
families.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that and so that's what happens when you start looking at different leaders. You
Mhm.
actually see, what do they come from?
Exact.
Where do they come from? So either they're gonna, emulate what they were raised as, or they're
Mhm.
like, you know what, I don't want to be anything like that. So I'm gonna throw myself into just the opposite.
Right. Right. And so we see that. We see that in the workspace. We see that all the time. And it just with my son, I did the same thing too. I just worked. But then I realized what got me to wake up was a health issue. I was working one of my best jobs. I love this job. I was working for it. I was in a leadership position, but my health started to knock on the door.
Mm-hmm.
And, it I was in a situation where either you get this surgery or you're going to have cancer
Mm.
throughout your body and you will die. Now, mind you, at this time, my child is 9 years old when I got this news.
Wow.
I still got some more living to do.
Right.
And I realized my job at the time, they didn't care whether I lived or died. They was like, "Oh, well, you're just going to have to keep this same insurance. We're not going to change it over."
Mm-hmm.
My doctor's sending out the form saying, "Hey, she needs this surgery now.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to bust and it's filled with cancer. We did the testing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not benign. We need to do it now." And my job said, "Oh, well, we don't care." And this was a job from way before.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to make a decision. Either I put my job first and take the risk and waiting 9 months later to redo my insurance to get the surgery
Mm-hmm.
and risk having this thing bust in the meantime and get
Mm-hmm.
riddled with cancer and possibly die. Or do I forego a six-figure salary? And social workers don't make six figures. They just don't, right? You got to do some other things just to do
Mm-hmm.
that. And so I had to walk away from a six-figure salary. I have never seen six figures in my life. And I was like, this either this or my life and my son.
Mm-hmm.
And I chose my life and my son. And what ended up happening was that once I got released from that prison in my mind
Mm-hmm.
of you keep working and you keep working
Mm-hmm.
and everything's just going to have to work itself out in a sense of with your kids, they'll understand. Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
I decided when I chose myself, I chose my son, I chose my husband, that I was at every soccer practice. I was at every
Mhm.
soccer game. I was at every event. I was present. He was a 4.5 student. He got one into one of the best HBCUs that are out there, Morehouse College. Shout out to the Morehouse. All of that because I decided to choose me and I decided to choose him. But not everybody can do that,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I think that that's something that we have to look at and really decide who's important in those spaces. So the next question I want to ask you is, how do high functioning leaders
Mm.
mask their emotions, their emotional exhaustion, and why does it often go unnoticed? How do they mask it, and why does it always go unnoticed?
It could be you're smiling a lot,
Hmm.
maybe smiling through tears.
Yeah.
You either take on maybe additional projects that you just know you don't have time and space to do it.
Hmm.
Um, there's different ways that leaders mask it.
Yeah.
Um, I've probably been guilty of that too.
Hmm.
Or just not saying no.
Hmm.
I got this. Or
Hmm.
even you find yourself putting yourself in a situation where you're trying to solve a problem that nobody even asked you to help out because that's that leader part of, in
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
So you
Hmm.
just mask it in so many different ways. And so, going back to where you're like, you have to make that choice. What
Yeah.
choice are we going to make?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm just thinking, just in general, in our profession, um, I've had colleagues, and we'll have a conversation. Like we just had lunch last Tuesday,
Hmm. Hmm.
which was weird
Hmm.
because we're like, wow, what? Wait a minute, we're sitting down, and the radio's not going off, you know. And so being able to, it's hard when you're not at a place where others are in your like profession
Hmm.
to be able to have that honest conversation. And so you may have to pick up the phone
Hmm.
or call someone, and then they're like, okay, yeah, I know what you're going through. Or you don't want to appear that that you're complaining.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
there's different ways that we mask
You
it.
know, and this brings also to the idea that even in the masking, we can hide it by trying to find purpose. You mentioned about doing these other projects for other
Hmm.
people and they didn't ask you. You all in other people's business.
Right.
And so, but they don't realize that you're avoiding going back to that previous question.
Right.
You
Exactly.
are you are hiding the emotional exhaustion by doing other things. And so I need to run from it. So I'm going to ask and do things that you don't even ask me to do or want me to do. And I start messing up in those areas. I'm getting in the way of colleagues, my employees. They're doing a project. I come in and I mess it all up.
Hmm.
And they're like, what are you doing here? We're fine. We got it. But you're just always in the mix of doing
Hmm.
something.
We get in
Go
this
sit
habit of
down
just,
somewhere.
yeah, you just want to be busy. And
Exactly.
some people don't know the beauty in sometimes you just need to sit. You don't
Right.
have to be busy. You don't
Right.
have to be pressing that button, like, always doing something.
Or pressing somebody else's
Right.
buttons.
Or
And
pressing,
you
because then you're going to start pressing everybody's buttons. And
okay, and
then you're,
somebody going to
right.
jail. Okay, somebody going to jail because they gonna meet you out in the parking lot. All right, what's that? I'm
Exactly.
gonna meet you in the parking lot at
At
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
That's what they say at school. It's at 3 o'clock. I'm gonna meet you there. So this last question in this segment is we're gonna go really deep on this one. And it says if your body or your spirit. I want to talk about the spirit because we've been talking about the body all the time.
Mhm.
Let's talk about the spirit because you're a spiritual woman. You are a believer, and I am too. If your spirit could talk to you right now, glory. What do you think it would say now that you can taste your food?
I could taste my food. My spirit would say, you did good. You
Mm.
did good. Even when you thought you didn't do good, you
Mm.
did good. And so, where you were running from your name,
Yeah. Yes.
I was more comfortable with Connie than confidence,
Yeah.
but it was like you did good. And it's
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
It's okay
Yeah.
that if you hurt, you're hurt.
Yeah.
If you want to cry, you can cry. And that you did good.
Yeah.
And so it's okay.
Yeah.
You had regrets. And so, we are raising my son together. It's okay. But I don't have to wear that label of a divorcee,
Yes.
And so we have to peel away these labels
Mhm.
and saying, like back to that question,
Yeah.
who am I?
Yes.
I'm a person that loves the Lord. I
Yes.
listen to gospel music every day. To
Yes.
listen to something else is just, I don't know why. Just for some, it just I
Right.
don't know. I
Right.
might have something and I'm singing in my bathroom
Right.
and things of that nature,
Right.
but it was like, you know what, you're okay.
Yeah.
Instead of me feeling like I failed, and that's like, and because as
Mm.
leaders, that's the essence. We don't want to fail.
Right.
We don't want to fail. I don't want to fail as a female. I don't want to fail as a
Yes.
as a black female because
Yes.
I'm thinking about who is going to come up behind me.
Yes.
I don't want a stereotype being placed upon something that I may or may not have done.
Yes.
And so that's what the Holy Spirit will tell. He tells me that you're okay.
Yeah.
And even he'll wake me up sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I can recall one time when I was going through what I was going through, he said, "Why are you holding on to it?" And I just literally took a platter. It was almost an invisible platter. And I handed everything over to Jesus. And he just said,
Mm.
"Give it to me. Why you keep holding on to it?"
Ooh, I felt
And
that.
I remember, I mean, literally, I don't know. It was,
Mm.
I was sitting on his right. He was sitting on my left.
Mm.
And I can so remember this like it was yesterday.
Wow.
And I literally was putting every problem.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I have to be prostrate in his presence.
Oh.
I put post-its and I put
Yeah.
prayer requests. I put a date on there.
Yeah.
If people come to my mind, when I go to
Yeah.
church, I do go to church by
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
But I need that quiet time.
Yeah.
I need that quiet time. And the one thing I always put in my Bible, I put people and situations. And I
Yes.
start to list whoever comes to my mind. And I start to
Yeah.
list what the situation might be.
Yeah.
And it's really, 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 really special to put that down,
Yeah.
put that date on it. If that post-it that you put in,
Right.
like the war room or anything
Right.
like that.
Right.
And you can go back and you can put when God answered, because He's going to answer your prayers.
He will.
He will
All
say
the time.
yes, no, or not now.
Right. 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 Man, that hit me on so many levels right now. It just really touched about how I just got into this space of I noticed that when I began to let go of the hurt of my previous marriage
Mhm.
and what all that entailed and the part that I played, the part that he played, and how it impacted our son, I had to begin to forgive myself and let those things go because it was impacting how I actually showed and performed, not as a mother, but just also in my workspace and then in the goals that I was looking to achieve. And, I joke about this all the time, but it's definitely true. Every morning I listen to these three things. I think it's three. No, it's two things. No, it's three things. It's three things. So not necessarily in this order, but as long as it gets there between the time I wake up until I get to the office, is that I listen to my gospel. I listen to my gospel music, my TD Jakes, my Sarah Jakes, and I get to hollering. Okay, not hollering, but hollering.
Island.
Okay. Because if you know, you know. And then, sometimes I got to break it down with a little bit of Cardi B and Megan Stallion. I got to get that twerk ministry and get the
twerk
spinal
ministry.
moving, the blood flowing, getting the good exercise. And then I top that off with a nice little cherry of just some gospel music to remind me it is going to be okay.
Mhm.
And you're right. Sometimes we have to give ourselves permission to
Yeah, give
feel.
yourself grace.
Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. Please give
Mhm.
yourself grace, right? And also just give yourself permission to cry. Give yourself permission to heal. Leaders, we need to remember to do that. We do not have to wear the cape. Take that fucking cape off, dude. Like, for real, because you cannot carry the load. And just even as Black women, we're carrying the world on our shoulders.
All that.
I know this in this particular time right now that what we're going through, we took our cape off and said, y'all get somebody else to do it.
Right.
We're telling everybody else to get somebody else to do it. But at the end of the day, we need to learn how to be grateful for our present moment, but giving ourselves grace.
Mhm.
So, as we come to this, we, kind of putting this all together, in this segment called the reset recipe, we're going to reset all of this. And I want you to give our listeners some nuggets. So I want to ask you this question. What's one boundary, right, you had to set to reclaim your peace? And I want the juiciest one where you cussed everybody out. No, she don't do it. But give me that one boundary.
When I'm on vacation, I'm on vacation.
Yes.
Okay. I tell my staff pretty much you can text me. I'm not going to read that email. I'm sorry. I'm not going to read not no, I'm not sorry. I'm not going to read that email until Monday morning
Mm-hmm.
because I have to unplug.
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise my brain is going to keep going, 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 going.
Yes.
And that when I get home from
Yes.
work,
Yes.
I leave work at work.
Yes.
And I didn't do that before.
Yeah.
I mean, I was taking it with me everywhere,
Yes.
but I had to just say, mm-mm.
Yes.
So if you email me for work, just please know I'm not going to answer it till Monday morning.
When I get back, I'm out of the car.
I don't need that in my mind because I'm going to still deal with it. It's still going to be there. But I want to be able to give it the time that it needs and give myself the time that I need. I got to recharge my batteries.
Exactly.
Because otherwise, what's the point? I'm going to go there. I'm going to be unhappy, miserable. That's not good.
Exactly.
Especially at an elementary site. It's not.
No, it's definitely not. And that's good. We just have to create that one boundary. And the next question is tasting our own food. What does tasting now your own food, aka enjoying your success and life, what does that look like today?
Well, I would say it could be 3 ingredients. It could be either salty, it could be sweet,
Yes.
and then I like spicy. Okay.
Yes.
So,
Spicy.
so for me to taste my own, it's just like, okay, if I want to just, I don't know, go to the movies
Yes.
by myself,
Yeah.
or if I want to go be with some friends,
Yes.
I could be with my god sister or something. Just being able to just taste my own food where I can just let down my hair and be who I am.
Yes.
So I would say tasting my own food could be salty, sweet, or spicy.
Yes, I love all of it. And that's just that we just have to remember that we're all of those things.
Yeah.
And take the time to live in that moment and live in that space.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell you something, man. I'm not good at this, but I actually will take my computer on a cruise, and all that. I know I'm bad. I'm talking about myself. I'm bad. But this time I will say this last cruise I took, I did have me some fun now. We did drop it like it's hot. Okay. We did get it in. But this time when I go on vacation, and I'm starting now, and I'm being totally frank and honest with everybody that's listening, that this podcast is not just only for you all, but it's for me too. I have realized at this moment and this time in my life that I'm taking me seriously and on purpose. Again, I've done it before.
Unapologetic.
And unapologetic and non-negotiable. So I will not be taking my computer. I will not be taking my work phone. Whatever happens, it's going to happen with me or even without me.
Right.
I'll catch y'all on Monday, and I'll catch you at 10 o'clock after I get in. I sit down, I have my coffee, I breathe myself through it, then I'll start checking at 10 o'clock. I ain't going to check my email at 8 o'clock. Don't even expect it. But this is something that we need to have a wake-up call to be able to do that. So I'm going to ask you this final question. What's one non-negotiable ritual, okay, you recommend for the leaders out there, the people out there, and even your up-and-coming leaders? These are people who are wanting to get in positions like you and I, and they think they just got to grind it out, work really hard, burn ourselves to the last bit of that candle. But what's one non-negotiable ritual you recommend for leaders to check in with themselves regularly? What's a ritual you
I'm
would
going to
recommend?
say I take a mental health day once a month. I do. My job actually knows it because I realized when I was sick, I was only as valuable as I was there. So I had to take one mental health day a month. And see, people think that you have to be sick, you have to have a fever, you have to have a cough. And mental health is just as important as any physical illness. And so by being able, they give us sick days for reasons, right? So if you take that one, even if it's one every 2 months, but just take that time so that you can recharge your batteries. So that's what I do. And so
Absolutely.
any employer, they know I will not have a repeat of 2019.
Exactly.
I will not be hospitalized
Yes.
at 46 years old,
Yes.
not knowing what is going to happen to me.
Yes.
So I take that time to just have that mental health day.
Yeah.
And it may be in the middle of the week. It may be on a Friday. It may be on a Monday.
Right.
So I'm able to do what I would like to do. And I'm not taking my work computer. So if I do something on my computer, it's something for me.
Yes.
It's not something that's with the district.
Yeah.
I still have my responsibilities with
Right,
that. And they
right.
know that I'm going to give them 1000% of myself, because
Right.
most days I'm there till 6:30 at night, getting there at 7:30.
Yes.
And so I'm taking that time that I need and
Right.
being able to map out what I
Right.
need to accordingly. But I
Right.
take that mental health day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my colleagues are like, "Yep, Confidence is taking her mental health day." And I say, "Yes, I do."
Yeah.
Because I have to be there for my son. I have to be there for my mom.
Right.
I have to be there for me
Right.
and any other individuals, because
Right.
I don't want someone to ever to feel this way.
Yeah.
You know, and we can be leaders, but guess what? We can be leaders and we can be whole and we
Mhm.
can be healthy,
Mhm.
and but we still have to think about us.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes that really does make a difference.
Yeah.
And I feel like, whoop, I'm ready to just get back in.
Right.
Or if I'm just like, hey, you know what? It's time for me to go.
Right.
Okay, leave things, write myself a little note,
Right.
and but being able to get our brain to detach from that,
Yes.
because it all starts up here, and then it
Absolutely.
starts affecting other parts of our body.
Absolutely. All I hear is you saying is that we need to unplug.
Yep.
Yeah. We need to remember who we are. We need to be able to enjoy the moment and be mindful with the people that we love.
Mhm.
And taking that mental health day does not even have to be a moment where you're burning out. Don't
No,
wait.
no,
Now that's too late.
no.
It's not about you're not
Schedule
taking
it.
you schedule it, but even when things are still going good, still take it.
Yep.
Don't wait for something to collapse
Mhm.
in order for you to be able to take it, right? I heard you talk about in all of these segments about having some level of control
Mhm.
and but control in your life, not someone else's, but saying, I have a choice.
Mhm.
I don't have to be isolated.
Mm-mm.
I don't have to have my health go down. I don't have to, I can decide that the past is what shaped who confidence is, who Wendy is, but that doesn't mean I still have to keep operating in that space. I get to choose how to mold that and change it for this new thing called life for me as I'm writing my chapters, right? And so this has just been amazing. And I really hope that a lot of people took some copious notes. I hope you guys took some copious notes on these things as you're, having your glass, you're not swerving or anything of that nature. But this is the time for you to unplug. And I think a lot of leaders need to know when to just turn it
Off.
off and taste your food. So whether you're going to Ruth's Chris or whether if you're going to any restaurant or the restaurant in your kitchen, enjoy those spices, the sweet, the salty, all of that in there, and just chew and enjoy every single moment. And I think we need to do that. This has been amazing,
Thank you.
Confidence. So,
Thank you.
listen, we've had Confidence Johnson, 26 years in the business here, a principal, but just a leader in her community, a leader in her family's life. But also, she decided I'm going to be a leader in my own life and say, I see you, I hear you, and I'm going to pay attention to you. And we really need to do that. So, again, I hope you all enjoy this. I hope you all can send it out to anyone that needs to send it. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you listen to this. Whenever you're feeling down, whenever things are just going haywire, you just don't remember, replay this video because this was a teachable moment. You got somebody in education telling you 26 years in the business, hey, you need to do this. And I challenge each and every person watching this, take a mental health day. And it's just for you, right? Just for you. So again, my name is Dr. Wendy Talley. You have been on the Leaders Lounge, unfiltered, raw, everything that we need to do here. We're going to have those conversations. You all have a good one. Bye.
Hi. What?